Great.
That wasn't very enthusiastic. How is everybody doing?
Great.
There you go. I heard an amen and some other stuff. All right. First of all, are there any venture capitalists in the room? All right. Next invitation is to venture capitalists. This table back here, they have thought about a project where you can hologram yourself into meetings. I need that this afternoon. So venture capitalists, you know anybody, we've got a team that we need to lead them directly to. It's an honor to be with you today, and I want to spend a little bit of time with you just because I think it's important to talk about why we're doing this and what we're trying to anticipate. By creating some new ways of learning and expanding opportunities to learn across the city. Before I do that, I want to give a few thank yous. Ava will come back and give a whole lot of thank yous, but I want to give a few up front. One to my colleagues from City Hall, so Ava Mitchell, of course, Jacqueline Youngblood, who's on the camera back here from Urban Mechanics, and Natalia Erteve, who leads Imagine Boston 2030 for the city. I want to give a shout out to my colleagues from the Boston Public School System, Marsha Ennis Mitchell, Sam, Michelle Severi, you guys wave to everybody. I want to thank David Leonard and the team here at the library. This is not possible this summer without the library. I also want to thank our student design professionals because you took a chance on us this summer. We thought we had something very inventive and interesting that might be engaging, but the proof is in the pudding, and you came in, stepped in with both feet, probably not fully understanding what the experience was going to be. So I thank you for taking a chance on us, and you will learn a lot more about the very creative and inventive things you've done this summer. The last thank you I want to give is to a couple of brothers who are with me today. Sean Torrance and Brian Robertson, professionals who helped me at a number of levels, but I've known these guys since I was 10 years old. We all went to Levington Middle School together in Detroit, Michigan. And these are guys who hold me to a standard of excellence. So I want to thank both of you for being with me today. So all of us who are concerned about making sure that young people have the highest quality education possible are faced with a challenge. The challenge is this: the world is increasingly dynamic, the world is increasingly competitive, and it is increasingly unpredictable. And so the world that we need to prepare young people for is first of all global. It's not just about your life. It's not just about Boston or Massachusetts or New England. It is thinking worldwide. It's multicultural, it's transdisciplinary, and increasingly fluid from a locational standpoint. It is not the case that young people will be one thing for the duration of their careers, but they will be many things, synthesizing many different disciplines. It's dependent on the ability to code switch, to both be polyliterate and tech innate. It's one that requires almost reflexive entrepreneurial skill, and that is some of what you will see from students today. And it is implicitly network driven. Of course, preparing young people for this future demands that every student have rigorous and engaging school experiences led by skillful educators who can both help build a deep base of core knowledge and who can help students build learning routines. But school is not going to be enough if we want every student to be college, career, and life ready. And that is ready for the world that I just described, as well as ready for a regional job market where we are seeing growth in medical devices, financial services, life sciences, and other fields, as well as a proliferation of nearly 2,000 startups in Boston in recent years, some doing work in areas that we could not have imagined a decade ago. The world is changing quickly. And so getting Boston's young people ready for a world that is changing at an exponential rate really requires us to take an ecosystem approach to the work that we're doing. We have to take this work this approach not only to help students build the knowledge that they need, but what we are trying to do is to build capability, the ability to do something powerful and productive with what you know. It's not just about what you know, it is about what you can do with that. And so a more expansive approach to learning has to draw broadly on the strengths of all community sectors, and they're represented here in the room. I think I saw my friends from Microsoft in the room. We've got several nonprofits with us in the room today, as well as the school system and public sector representatives. It not only takes the village, it takes the ecosystem, and the system part of that is very important. important because we have to link these experiences together in ways that are logical and accessible and efficient for our students and their families. We also have to make sure that the ecosystem draws on our traditional educators, discipline-specific practitioners, and subject matter experts, because we have to make high-quality learning and skill development available at all times of day, in all seasons of the year, across all neighborhoods, and across a variety of the settings that learning takes place. And how many of you know that learning does not just take place in the schoolroom? So we're talking about our college campuses, we're talking about cultural institutions, we're talking about athletic fields, we're talking about this library as a number of the places or examples of the places where learning has to take place and learning has to be well coordinated across the city. And so this city must become our students' classroom, because we've got to give students firsthand experience to infuse information and concepts with relevance, so that it's not just abstract and ambiguous, but the things that students are learning begin to have practical application. We've got to provide students with greater exposure to the professionals and the experts who deeply know the content that we ask them to learn and can demonstrate how to apply that content. And lastly, we need to create opportunities for young people to bring their visions and ideas to contemporary problem solving, not just to build capability, because they know a lot about how to fix this world. And so we've got to get them in the game right now. This isn't just about simulating the things that we want for them and want them to be able to do in classrooms. I know that as I've talked to young people in this room and beyond, they are ready to contribute right now. They've got ideas that we don't, they've got perspectives that we don't. So let's get them in the game and get them the right kind of support and mentorship to contribute immediately. We are very excited about the work that we're doing to make the city a classroom for Boston students, and that is why the Education Cabinet, in collaboration with Boston Public Schools, and very particularly Tech Boston Academy, let's hear it for Tech Boston Academy students, as well as the Timothy Smith Network. And where is Milton? Milton Irving, where are you, my friend? Milton, let's give Milton Irving a hand. Mujika Design, wave your hands. Mujika is in the house. And of course, the librarian, David, I want to thank you again. The Boston Design Academy is a hands-on exploration of various design career pathways, as well as exposure to the fundamental concepts, processes, and tools that are the foundation for design careers. So whether it is designing an intelligent jacket that has cell phone capability, or figuring out how it is that innovation companies stay ahead of the curve, the students this year have really immersed themselves in design process and design tools to understand what skill acquisition in these areas looks like and how that leads to career on-ramps for them in the future. During the 6-week program, students have explored innovative Boston-based industries and studied how professionals in places from Autodesk to Microsoft to Mass Robotics use design processes, tools, and technologies like Fusion 360 and Sketchbook in their day-to-day work. Now, a unique learning experience needs a unique place to learn. And we are very fortunate to have been at the Boston Public Library this year, both in its Teen Central facility, which is upstairs and over in the new part of the building, as well as in this part of the building in the Historical Archive in the McKim building. The fact that students had access to a media lounge, digital makerspace, seating layouts that incentivize collaboration, some space for quiet study as well, and books and digital resources means that we are primed to demonstrate what engaging learning actually looks like. And so we could not do this without the library. This is the beginning of the work that we will do with the library to make learning more expansive in the city of Boston. And so I'm going to say something to you that you are already thinking. Boston Design Academy is cool on many levels. I know you're thinking that already. But the other thing that you need to take away from this is that this is intentionally a systems and program experiment. We are trying to figure out how to institutionalize relationships between the traditional education system, higher ed, nonprofits, and our corporate partners to make sure that we are blending learning in some very relevant, real and powerful ways for students. And so going forward, we want to develop more programs that, first of all, are co-designed by education and industry experts. Secondly, are implemented in community and work-based settings. They're collaboratively facilitated by school educators and field experts, and they're focused on authentic learning. And by that I mean students are required to contextualize what they learn. They learn from one another and a number of different informants. They produce ideas and artifacts that matter to their schools and to their communities right now, and they bring their full selves to learning. We want to make sure that they are present, fully engaged, and excited about the work that they're doing. The launch of the Boston Design Academy signals the expansion of City as a Classroom work in Boston, but it is one of several growing efforts that aim to replicate the blueprint that I just outlined for you. A few other things that are going on this summer under the City as a Classroom umbrella are our second annual Autodesk Fellowship, which is a 3-week teacher externship where teachers are learning about design tools from field experts and co-creating with them to bring new tools back into the curriculum. And if I can get my Autodesk fellows to raise their hands real quickly, we want to celebrate you. Raise them high. BPS's Office of External Affairs has also launched the I2 STEAM Learning Camp in collaboration with I2 Learning and Vertex Pharmaceuticals. The camp aims to more deeply engage 100 middle grade students, especially young ladies, from the Grove Hall neighborhood and the Dearborn STEM Academy to get them further interested in STEAM careers. And Vertex is providing a lot of bandwidth both on the programming side, and its professionals will serve as mentors for those 100 students as well. Lastly, the continued BPS's 5th quarter may be the flagship City as a Classroom initiative. And I want to point out Chris Smith in the back of the room from Boston After School and Beyond, who can take a whole lot of the credit, maybe 99.5%? No? Laura? All right, we'll give some other people some credit. But if you didn't realize it, Boston can boast probably the most robust summer learning system in America today. There are other people who are doing it. There are other people who are doing it at slightly larger scales. Nobody is doing it better, I guarantee you. A lot of this has to do with Chris, but a lot of it has to do with a network of nonprofits and educators who have a vision for taking learning beyond the classroom. So this year, 70 sites co-hosted by teachers and nonprofit professionals serving nearly 13,000 students across the city. That number keeps ramping up every year. The reality of the city of a classroom is coming into view. And so I am thankful to all of you. We will stay committed to this work. Our imagination is that learning will happen anytime and anywhere in the city, and it is because we are able to pilot opportunities like this, we're able to bring together critical partnerships that span sectors and span organizations. And so thank you, thank the students, and I want to bring up next the president of the Boston Public Libraries, Mr. David Leonard.
How do I follow that? I am incredibly humbled to play a small part in the convening of this opportunity. The Boston Public Library's mission is really encapsulated in the phrase "free to all." It's enshrined on the front of the building here on Copley Square, and as we continue to renovate and improve branches throughout the city, we find a place to make that wording come true in the physical realities of those buildings. But what does it mean? It means we are the place where we can level inequality, where everybody is welcome, where we can facilitate equal access to opportunity, and where we can deliver the broadest of educational missions in conjunction with many, many partners. And so the Boston Design Academy that we have been very happy partners on here provides exact opportunity. It is a quintessential example of what's possible where education and workforce development meet. And so it just feels so natural that the Boston Public Library, as what I like to think of as a 170-year-old startup, can help facilitate with all of your help. And so really my job here today is simply to welcome you. Welcome to your library. It is your library. We are merely the custodians of these resources. It is a place where we and our resources here are at your disposal. You can also push us to be more innovative. We are accountable and responsible to the people. And so this program here is a very real way in which our mission just becomes a reality. And ultimately, what's that about? It's about serving our young people and ensuring they have the skills and opportunities to prepare them for today's job market and tomorrow's. So thank you for being here. Thank all of the partners who have made this program a reality to date. And we too believe, like our Chief of Education, this is just the beginning of a very strong program. Thank you.
I couldn't emphasize more than Chief Dorsey that we are building on a foundation that a lot of you in this room have started. We have some incredible out-of-school learning opportunities that have been built by folks like Chris Smith, and Boston Public Schools has built onto that with like Jan Manfredi, Mark Innes Mitchell, and Michelle Severia. We've got some great in-school opportunities. We have the best teachers, I think, in the country. I'm sorry for a few of our guests that are from other places, but I believe that's true. We also have some really exciting career pathways that are unmatched opportunities in Boston. But what people have told us, families, businesses, teachers, leaders, in and out of the system, what they say to us is that we need to take this up a level and do a better job connecting all of this learning, making connections between academic, career, work-based, in school, out of school, technology, and projects. And we said we're going to need some help figuring all of that out. And that's why we asked the Timothy Smith Network to be our lead thought partner in that, because they are fully integrated in BPS through their technology and academic support. I see we have a reference, we have Varuna here from the Office of Information Technologies, and also with our business community. But what really, really helped us think about this is they have deep roots in the communities from which our students come. And we need to be bringing along everybody along with us as we make city as a classroom. Our students, our teachers, our leaders, ourselves, and our parents and community. So I want to thank TSN for sponsoring this initiative here in partnership with Boston Public Library, which is certainly another one of those critical partners that bring it all together. Thank you. Come on up. Executive Director, TSN.
Well, thank you. First, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I'd like to thank elected officials, of course, from City Hall, Boston Public School System, corporates, nonprofits, everybody who's in the room. I'd like to thank TSN board who is here. Thank you, board members, for taking the time out of your day. And also, I'd like to thank the students and their parents for being champions, I should say, of this effort called Boston Design Academy. And none of this would have been possible without the work of Nisha, who you'll get to hear from Bajika. So this all happened, not by happenstance, but we just had a conversation. We were all just gathered around and just talking about what do we need to do? How do we become more intentional and purposeful of the work that we do at TSN that's been around since 1996. We have presently 24 labs that we fund across Greater Roxbury and the access that we give to the community. But how does our work with the students, with the Boston Public School System, become more intentional and purposeful? So we're all huddled around the table just trying to figure out, what do we do? What do we do? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And of course, Nisha, as you'll hear, she'll say, well, we can do whatever we want to do. We're able, we're capable. And that's how boldly she lives and thinks. And so I said, okay, you got me, I'm sold. Then of course we brought this conversation to Ms. Amy Mitchell over here, and she said, okay, well, what are we gonna do? How purposeful do we want this to be? And we said extremely. So we had conversations with different schools within BPS, and of course, Tech Boston, which you guys roared about, jumped on board. And so that's amazing. And then we had Autodesk that jumped on board. They said, this is awesome. Then, of course, we had Microsoft. They jumped on board. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. And so collectively, of course, it takes the village, but as Ron said, it's an ecosystem, right, that makes this all happen, that makes it tangible. And so the Boston Design Academy, yes, has designing. So just as people are intentional about building these skyscrapers and housing that's happening, we need to be very intentional of how we're helping students, as well as teachers, design pathways, right? So that we can give our students, our educators, in the community, the type of envisioning of opportunities that exist within higher education and employment. So we have this hashtag called Our Design, Our Future. So it's not really just about the educational part, but designing our own lives, right? Opening up doors so people can have access to what's possible, what is actually tangible for them. And of course, none of this could have happened without the Boston Public Library, because we're sitting in a palace for the people, right? Where's Brother Khalid? Where's Khalid? Brother Khalid, is he in this room? So he had a meeting, he told me about the Palace of the People, which is the name of the Boston Public Library. Is that correct, David?
This building.
This building. So we're not only living and standing in the Palace of the People, but we're standing amongst each other who are about building a palace and a life for each other, right? Building pathways for each other. So we brought all of this stuff under one roof, which is powerful. And that's what TSN has been doing in the community for a number of years, but we're able to re-engage our partnership with the library, with the city, with corporate partners. So none of this could be possible without each and every one of you. So you all are part of the design work that we're doing. So I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful again for the students. I get to come in every now and then and just give them little nudges as Nisha tries to kick me out of the class because I'm probably making too much noise. But that's okay because they are powerful kids. And they are kids to be honored today and kids that you guys will honor the work that you guys done here continually. So this was the pilot, but this will grow. Right? And your names will forever be a part of this moment, this day that we're standing with right now. So thank you very much. I will let Ava come back and introduce the next person, but enjoy the students, enjoy the students, enjoy the students. Thank you.
Is there anybody in the room that has not seen Black Panther? Just one, okay. Well, the rest of you will understand. The person I'm going to introduce next, MIT graduate, absolutely phenomenal thinker and leader and educator that's designed a really amazing program for us that's really getting students to think about career pathways and the learning that takes place before them. I like to nickname her Princess Cherie. So, Nisha, you know that's you. Come on up.
So for an introvert like myself, being in a room full of people like this, it causes a lot of tension. The heart is getting a little faster, but it's getting faster for another reason. And that's because I'm just so happy that you all are able to share this experience with us today. And the reason why I'm so happy, as you probably saw for those who trickled in a little earlier before we started, these students have spent a significant amount of time. They've spent a significant amount of time growing, breaking down their foundations and what they thought they knew of design, silently trying to make sure that they don't attack Ms. Nisha when her back turns away from their table. But the process they've gone through, as part of Boston Design Academy is nothing short of extraordinary. And I don't use that word often. I know a couple of my students in the back are looking at the table like, is she talking about us? Yes, I am talking about you all. 7 years ago, I started Bajika. And Bajika means idea, even though it's a very hard word to pronounce. And I started Bajika for the sole reason that it took so long for me to encounter someone who literally told me all the crazy thoughts I had in my mind, all the crazy solutions I would dream up when I was on a bus or what have you, are solutions that could actually be applied to the real world. And that person was an MIT professor in a summer program. At the time, I didn't even know what MIT was. But that person basically showed me a pathway to my current career. He told me I didn't have to go to community college, which was my only option at that time, that if MIT sent me a postcard, that was a pathway for me. If I wanted to build something, there were 6 laboratories that had public access for me to learn how to do woodworking, metalworking. If I wanted to learn graphic design in order to package something, there was someone there who could teach me. So I can create my own career. So this spring, when Timothy Smith Network approached me about a crazy idea they had, I was like, I have an even crazier one. A lot of times in schools, not at the fault of teachers or what have you, but just the fault of society overall, we sometimes try to put kids in a box. We sometimes tell kids, these are the careers that make money. These are the careers that exist. These are the only pathways that are available to you. Select one and be grateful you didn't go to the bad career paths, which I don't even want to call career paths. We've heard of school to prison pipelines and et cetera that have affected our nation. What I wanted to do this spring was to make sure that students realized that what was before them, whether good or bad, was not the only option. That kids had other career pathways that they themselves could design. Hence, a design career pathway. I'm good with puns. But, so after building on Ava and Ron in the city of Boston and a couple other partners like Mass Robotics, Autodesk, Microsoft, we can keep going on and on all day, I realized the idea wasn't that crazy. It was an idea that's been floating around. We just needed a catalyst to help move it forward. And I hope Boston Design Academy, the Autodesk Teacher Externship Program, tackling the other side of this coin, Honor the City as a Classroom Project, is that solution. Now, I haven't told you guys this on your flyers, but the presentations that you're about to see are more impressive than you realize or what meets the eye. And that's because each presentation utilizes a specific type of technology. Now, most of the times when we hear about design and prototypes, it's about a crazy idea to tackle a societal challenge or what have you. And yes, the students were tackling societal challenges. The specific challenge was, what is the future of work? In regards to how will the future of the city of Boston look for the workforce? How many of you guys had a commute this morning? Every hand should be raised. How many of you guys had a pleasant commute this morning, given the weather? Oh, wow, you are blessed. Okay, we see some blessed folks in the audience. I am not going to be one of those people. I had a horrible commute. My hair actually laid on my face like I was Diana Carroll this morning. That's not the case right now. But it took a minute. Rough crowd. But now imagine, what do you want your future commute to look like in 5 to 10 years? And now imagine, what would that look like if you were able to leverage over 45,000 patents available through NASA? See, a lot of people don't realize, NASA is a government agency, correct? So everything they research and design is owned by the people. Meaning if you want to license a patent, you can do so because you own a part of it. Because hopefully everyone here pays taxes. Don't call yourself out if you don't. But you own a part of NASA. So what we challenged our students to do was to explore, what does the future of work and the city of Boston look like? And on top of that, how could you leverage the high-tech technology being developed by NASA as we speak in order to make that a reality in the next 5 to 10 years? What the students know, but you all don't know, is that we weren't just talking about using NASA patents. The students actually have been working with NASA the past 6 weeks, and we have them on the live stream or on the camera. They're going to be actually listening to your presentations. So I know a couple of kids just went, it's okay. They've already seen your presentations. And we didn't hear any chuckles from the students in the back. So without much further ado, I would like to get started with the first group. Talia, could you change the slide for me? Another slide? Sorry for the technical difficulties. So could we have Divergent come to the table?
Ready when you are.
Hi, we're Divergent, and my name is Michelle. My name is Hallie,
My name is Eliza.
and we created a ring that has a virtual assistant implanted into it. Her name is Tamari, and the ring comes paired with a charging box that can wirelessly charge the ring and contact lenses that when you put them on and you need a map in case you're lost, it will project a hologram. Yeah, okay, so we 3D printed this box, which is supposed to be a charger for the ring, and we also have this prototype, which is the actual ring, how it would look like in real life. So the contacts will project the hologram, so if you're lost or you need to find out where to go, only you could see it, so nobody else is in your business. You could just like, it's touchscreen, so it has a highlighted pathway, it tells you where to go. And we use the NASA patent, the navigator receiver, the GPS navigator receiver, and it's way faster than actual Google Maps. So let's say you make the wrong turn, it will instantly tell you where you go, like, or if it's wrong, before you actually get lost and have to like make a whole other journey.
Our inspiration was the Apple Watch because it is a smart device. And the only difference between the Apple Watch and the ring is more comfortable, so it's better than looking down at your watch every minute in case you walk into someone. And another huge inspiration was NASA, because when we were doing our research, we saw that NASA had all these different forms of technology, which was actually really interesting. And the ring is a lot more advanced and accurate.
We need that too.
Thank you, Divergent. Can we have the third eye come to the front?
There
The
we
third eye. And while we're waiting for the third eye to come to the front, as you may have noticed in the previous slide, Holly, can you go back to the previous? I'm so sorry. Actually, the students use several pieces of Autodesk software. Shout out to Kellyanne and everyone over at Autodesk. They actually use Autodesk Sketchbook. I'm filling up the time for you guys to come over. They actually use Autodesk Sketchbook, and they also had to do a crash course on Tinkercad and Fusion 360 in order to render their models and 3D print them. Now, without further ado, the third eye.
Hi everyone, I'm Babulina. I'm Jay.
How much now?
We worked on a flexible tablet. The tablet's supposed to replace like school textbooks that are very heavy for students of like all ages. The different features are that it's going to be very flexible, portable, so wherever you go, you can just fold it or like just do whatever you need to like put it up and like just leave. And another feature is going to be the AR. So a lot of people struggle with like reading and all that other stuff. With this feature, you'll actually be able to see what is being, projected on the tablet. It'll be very helpful.
Okay, so the three major NASA patent that we used was nanowire glass switch. So that patent helped with maps, card chips, radio frequency, inside download, and much more. The other patent that we used was metal oxide vertical graphene hybrid supercapacitors. So that's for battery, so it lasts at least 5 years. So the third patent that we used was nano potential, so I can't say that word. So,
It's a very hard word, no worries.
which will make our tablet extremely lightweight and flexible.
The inspiration behind the third eye was this library. This library made me realize how important books are for our future. So why should we have problems with accessing books? That question made me realize that this tablet, the third eye, could be our future. Thank you.
give us one moment because we have a very special type of presentation for the next one as we just switch over. While the students are coming up, I'm gonna say that this is really impressive. When I came the first day, they weren't using any technology, they were just learning. They were designing coffee cups. And now they're designing smart rings with virtual assistants and holographic displays and interactive tablets with nano-encapsulated aerogel. So I can't wait to see the next presentation, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah.
My name is Akela.
My name is Afra. And we just want to make the working space more easier for everyone. We just want to design for the future.
The idea of our project is basically kind of like a floating sphere. It can be used for grocery shopping. If you're in the workplace, you can put your laptop in it. And it's going to be working by magnetic levitation.
Okay, so some of the features are that it would have a security system, so in case someone was going to try to get your belongings inside, it would automatically shut down and it would inform you on whoever's trying to steal anything. It also has a GPS, so if you're lost somewhere, you can find your way. It also has like something like Siri that you can talk to.
Oh, sorry, I can switch you to. Sorry, we have the high-tech group, we require multiple sets. It's gonna take a second, but you're switching.
SAS was, well, instead of wheels, we decided to choose like magnetic levitation from the Earth's core. That way you won't have to pick it up the stairs or carry anything like that. We thought that making it levitate would help many people, those who can't carry their own things, but who just don't feel like it. It has a storage space which you can modify it from the inside. You can make it like soft or strong or just shells on the inside. It has a few, it has a lockdown mode, some sensors on the outside to prevent it from bumping into people. Camera, Bluetooth, and like a touch screen. You could put your password to open it up. So it stays by your side on specific distances as how you would like it. And that's that. Thank you.
device for remotely working. So like, say if you're not able to make it to a meeting or you're sick and traveling, our device is able to scan your body and project you into the room like a hologram. We also have a wireless charging base, so you just put the device on top of the charging base and you'll charge.
Some patents we used from NASA was face identification, a motion sensor, so that if you lose the device, it has like a baby so you can easily find it, and then the Wi-Fi signal booster.
We got our inspirations from Amazon Echo and Google Home. Like we wanted to make our device portable so that you could carry it with you wherever you want to. For the hologram part of our device, we got inspirations from different movies like Star Wars and Black Panther.
Our logo, that's our logo right there. It's LAY, which is our initials, and then the C for creation, so LAY creation. That's all.
So you know I'm gonna be the proud mama. So I'm gonna ask you guys, all of my students, everyone in the front of tables, you're fine. Can I ask all my students one more time, can you stand up? And just take your picture. I'm gonna still have you stand for one moment, because you know I'm gonna be mama bird for a second. I was a little concerned this morning, not gonna lie, because a lot of you kept telling me you didn't think you could do it. And after just watching your presentations, I'm proud, and I just want to say, you guys did amazing. Thank you. Told you, mama bird. Okay, you guys can sit down now. I'll stop embarrassing you. So I just want to emphasize the progress these students have made. They've learned over 5 new softwares in order to give you that presentation, just so you can appreciate the show they put on for you. But next up, we're going to invite back Ava, who's going to introduce the next component of the City as a Classroom project, and someone we consider as a very good partner in the City of Boston, who has helped us come a very long way in delivering the best programming here.
Before Ava speaks, we established that there are no venture capitalists, but I'm from a church family. We're gonna pass the plate in here. I love what the students did. I just had to say that. Thank you.
Wow. So, going back to the big idea of what City as a Classroom is about, this is about connecting all of this kind of learning into a teaching and learning system that's expansive beyond the classroom. So while the students were there learning new technologies and processes and tools and new kinds of careers, the teachers were also engaged in a learning process so that they could figure out how to connect rigorous academic content in their classroom to this kind of future-ready learning across the city. Our main partner in that is Autodesk. I'm going to introduce Kellyanne Mahoney, who is our last speaker before our lunch break and tour.
Go after the kids.
I know it's hard to go after the kids. Before, as Kellyanne gets up and connects, I just wanted to give a big shout out to 3 groups of people that are here that built this externship program for educators. That is our cohort 1, Autodesk Fellows, Karen Sean Hines, who is a leader of this program, Bruce Pontchartrain, that has used the City as a Classroom since it got to Boston. He just put it on steroids last year. And that's one of anybody else from cohort 1 that's here? We're going to give a big shout out to the mighty team from Brighton High School that has an incredible design pathway based on social justice Principal Rob Ramsdell. Can you raise your hand or stand up? Here's my teacher team on each side. You all stand up on Kelly Ann, please. Give that a big applause. We also have Excel High School here. Can you stand up, Tracy McKenzie? She is the work-based learning coordinator, and she's doing an outstanding team of educators. And stand up as well. Please. You need to take some photos of them in this presentation.
There's lots of photos. I try to use my teacher. Oh, do you need for the extended? I'm just gonna, because I'm gonna run back and forth.
Oh, you can
unhook it and you just
have
Oh, I can just hold it. Cool, thank you. Everybody's helping. It's kind of tight fit, so I'm going to fall. Perfect.
We try to think of everything here.
Go right ahead. Alright, so my name is Kelly Ann Mahoney. I'm a youth program specialist at Autodesk, but prior to joining Autodesk, I was also a teacher in the Boston Public Schools for 13 years, starting as a Boston teacher resident my first year. I just joined Autodesk last year, and when I joined Autodesk last summer, it was in the midst of Cohort 1, the teacher residency program. So I was very excited about it. I was actually assigned to document and take pictures because it was just a really compelling story. And I've just been really honored to be able to take part in it this year and to work with Ava and to collaborate with Timothy Smith Network and with Bajika and kind of conceptualizing it and making it kind of coherent with what's going on with students as well. So this partnership, its collaboration, began in the 2016-2017 school year. It started out just kind of as a series of events. Autodesk, we're located in the build space in the Seaport, and we had actually just moved into the Seaport about 1.5 years ago. So it was during that time that we started to collaborate more with the city. So from there, we decided to host teachers. Last summer, there were about 21 teachers, principals, school leaders, people from central office as well. They're all working together to try to solve problems and use a design thinking methodology in order to work together to support student learning. If you don't know what Autodesk is, this is our vision, which is to help people imagine, design, and make a better world. And as you can see, even with the students' presentations and just the way that they're able to imagine and kind of speculate and think about the future, that's what people use our software for. We make software for people who make things. Anything that you can visualize, so some of the ideas that students were presenting earlier, anything that you can imagine, our software helps you visualize it, you can simulate it, and then you eventually can build it. So people use our software to make skyscrapers, to make movies, so we do computer animation. Prosthetics is another application of how to use our software, and also cars. So just anything cool that you can imagine or that kids can imagine, you can use it in order to make your vision a reality. Tinkercad was one of the first tools that we started out working together with as part of Cohort 2. Tinkercad is a free, online, easy-to-use 3D design software program. So anything that you have in your mind, you can bring it to reality and 3D print it. So that's what it looks like. So Autodesk has a long history of supporting education, and this is sort of, I think, a good representation of our point of view on education, is that in supporting teachers and in supporting students, we hope to inspire them, to educate them, and then eventually to support students so that we can hire them too, not only at Autodesk, but also in the jobs where people are actually using our software to make things as well. So this is just a cool visual of kind of how we represent that and thinking about if there were a trajectory from K way into high school and beyond into college, how you might use some of our tools, which are all free for educators and students. And also, not only do we make tools like Tinkercad and Fusion 360 and some of the other software programs that you saw students using to visualize their ideas,
We also create content to support teachers in learning how to use our software. One opportunity I just wanted to make everyone in the room aware of is a contest that's called the Make It Real contest. We'll be launching it in September in the winners, so there's 4 prizes, but there'll be 2 regional prizes. The prize is $12,000 in makerspace equipment. So if you want to kickstart making at your school, it's a huge prize package for that. And I also will be supporting the Boston Public Schools this year, hopefully in collaboration with the technology office in the Boston Public Schools, and holding workshops to help teachers get their applications together as well. Last year's winner of our contest was Boston International Newcomers Academy, and this is just a nice visual of some of the things that they've done with the equipment that they got. So they got a laser cutter, they got Oculus headsets, they got 3D printers, so anything that they needed to take students' ideas and actually make them real and to build them. So when we started this year in the planning process for cohort 2, Ava, people from the superintendent's office, from teachers from cohort 1, got together and thought about what are some of the challenges that we're trying to address this year through the teacher residency program or the teacher fellowship program. One of the first questions that we thought about was how can we build meaningful partnerships in support of closing innovation opportunity gaps for our students? So that was just one of the questions. Another, and I think that you see the solution kind of represented in Nisha's students today, is how we can start to think of shifting mindsets in students from being consumers of technology to being creators of technology. And finally, and this is a tricky one, and I think that we have grappled with this throughout the summer, is how can we develop students' technical competence at the same time that educators are growing their own technology skills and knowledge. Part of the plan for both Excel and Brighton involves having to do career-based learning, that students need to have a sequence of technology skills in their learning, rigorous academics, which includes project-based learning, and also personalized support. And that's a lot to have to do at once, so we're happy at Autodesk to be able to try to support these schools do what they need to do in order to support their students. So just to give you a sense of how things worked, so earlier in the summer we had members of cohort 1, including Karen Sean, advice from afar from Bruce, who eventually came, he was on vacation, but we had members of cohort 1 coming together with us to help us plan the experience for cohort 2, which again is Excel and Brighton High School, and also to kind of simulate some of the plans that we had in store. So week 2 of the internship or externship experience was cohort 2 finally coming to the space. It was like Ava and I talked about how it was like Christmas morning when they came, because we've been planning about it for so long. In the first week, we focused the first 2 days on building teachers' technical competency. And we did that through a design challenge where the teachers actually had to imagine something, an object or a concept that could improve student learning, design it in Tinkercad, and then render it in Fusion 360. So Tinkercad is our entry-level beginner software that's fun to use and a good place to start, but we really wanted to ramp the teacher's skills from entry level to the professional tools that we want students to actually be able to use as well. And rendering is a fun way to do that. I have some images of that later. So other things that we did that first week is one of the biggest takeaways that I think Ava and I have talked about through this experience is how enthusiastic the greater design community is in wanting to come and support teachers as well. So we attended an event at the Design Museum in Boston, and we had, Karen Sean was there, Alicia, who's one of the teachers who was working with us. They were like holding court at this innovation event. Everybody wanted to talk to them, and they were getting business cards, and by the end of the week, we had so many people coming through to want to talk to teachers about what they do, and from many different backgrounds. We had a woman from MIT, who is the producer in residence of the producer of the Artist in Residence program, and she was talking to the teachers about speculative design and AR and VR. We had an animator from Mass Art come in to talk about computer animation. We had architects. We had a woman who encourages other women to join the construction trades. So it was a variety of career paths that our teachers were exposed to, and we were just blown away by how excited people were about the work. And it really helped us realize, in thinking back to those challenges that we talked about before, that one of the solutions to the problem seems to be the city as a classroom concept. So this is just one of the challenges. So design a model in Tinkercad of an object or concept that would improve your students' learning. Render it in Fusion 360. Rendering is really fun. It's kind of like coloring in 3D. This is another challenge. So create a lesson that integrates project-based learning, 3D design, and core content. So we're in the middle of this right now. So this is week 3. And this is the hackathon challenge that we were working on yesterday. So make 3 changes to how school is done that would enable students to design and build. Ultimately, and this is coming soon, we're hoping to share all the teachers' work through BPS City as a Classroom Instructable platform so that others can actually use some of the great content that our teachers are creating. And then week 4, they're going to be back at their schools and continuing this work of improving STEAM learning. Want to learn more? So this is our pitch. So tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the Autodesk Build Space, our teachers are going to be publicly presenting their work. If you want to RSVP, I just made this bit.ly about 15 minutes ago, but it's just sort of a quick, easy registration form so we know who's coming. I do have a slideshow of photos, but maybe I can just leave that running. Does that make sense?
That would be great. That'll be perfect, because now we are getting ready for a tour of Teen Central that'll be led by Kathleen Halpern, who is right here in the back of the room. And when you come back here, there'll be lunch and this running slideshow so you can get an idea of how teachers are connecting this to the classroom learning. All right?
We could meet in the lobby at the base of the staircase. For people who are interested in seeing the teen space where Boston Design Academy is going.
And you want to give a little pitch about Teen Central and what it includes and why it's so exciting?
Sure. I can project too, I don't know.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming today. My name is Catherine. I work in Teen Central, which is the library space for youth through in 6th grade through senior year of high school. We are a designated teen space. We're a little slow in the summer, so we probably don't have too many kids there right now, but it's the perfect time for a tour. But we are super busy after school. We've got kids from every part of the city of Boston coming through our doors, and it's a great place to hang out. Part of the teen space that I am in charge of is our digital media lab and digital makerspace. So we do have a 3D printer. We use lots of Autodesk software there as well, introducing Tinkercad, Sketchbook Pro. We do graphic design, digital art, digital music production, podcasting, and really trying to think about different ways of literacy and making and having students not just be content consumers, but really creators and designers of content. So just thinking about literacy in a whole new way. So if anyone would like to join me, please, we can just meet over at the base of the staircase. And it's over in the new building of the Johnson Building, so it's a little bit of a walk, but not too far. Thank you, Eva.
Thanks so much.
And thank you, Kelly.